You live?
Hey, welcome to the Badgers Lounge. It is brought to you by QCOM LLC. It's an excellent choice for a variety of IT solutions, including computer, laptop repair, diagnostic troubleshooting, server install and repair, sale of new and refurbished systems, install, deinstall of computer server hardware. You can contact KCOM LLC for more information and quotes on project solutions and many of your IT needs at 404-907-5886 or email request to QJONES at QCOMM.tech.
They come get it.
Um, today's topic is awareness. And, I was sitting here thinking about it, and
Oh, I'm ready.
it, and it's very, just listening to the conversations that we have on DKM Media, and on other platforms of other people that stream or do podcasts or radio shows and things like that. And one thing I see a lot is an awareness. There's different levels of awareness that are all over the place. You know, for anyone that wants to call in and, also add their opinion, you feel free to call in at 508-924-3521. Um, so I think we have Donald on the line right now.
Yeah, I forgot I had called in. I was raising flames in here. I hope y'all didn't hear that.
Just bits and pieces, but not the whole thing.
Well, good. That was enough.
um, what's your opinion or perspective of awareness?
Awareness to what?
In general?
Oh, we live in a blind society. I, I mean, that's a broad statement when you talk about awareness because um,
Well, if you could point out anything where awareness is the most lacking, what would you say it is?
okay, let's go here where nobody wants to talk about it. I don't even want to talk about it. Really, I don't. Because people have too many different opinions. Two things. Let's talk about two things.
Okay.
The political arena, the truth, what is real, what is the truth when it comes even to uh, the news, fake news, Republican news, Democratic news, the truth, what's really going on in this country. And then if you want to be the truth of the matter, and when it comes to um, this virus, this, and vaccinations and all that, what's the real deal? Because I know that, for instance, myself, I uh, wasn't really thinking about it, didn't pay no attention to what the government wanted me to do for me. I don't care nothing about this. I felt like, okay, I'm going to look out for myself and I'm going to make some choices for me. So I thought I would take the necessary precautions to cover me. Had nothing to do with anybody else. I'm not persuaded by anybody else's action. And I'm just now recovering from the virus. So being aware when it comes to the reality of it, you still Doing if you do and doing if you don't. Hope I didn't take up too much time.
Not at all, and that's one of the things, there's a lot of areas that people consider taboo, and if you talk about it, their awareness can be from just seeing what they see on Fox News or what is it, CBN or whatever news media they decide to
Yeah,
watch, you know, versus, some people that do a lot of research versus an activist who, looks at all the bills, which ones are being passed, which ones aren't, which ones are actually been sitting there for years that they've never even touched, you know. Um, so to me, there's such a level difference in awareness depending on a person's choice. Like when it comes to politics, when it comes to, like me and my wife had a discussion yesterday about the healthcare system, you know, and one of my, points of views on that, I'm like, most people in America can somewhat agree that the healthcare system is messed up. But there's different levels of awareness. Some people are like, yeah, the healthcare system's messed up, but we don't want to pay more taxes, or we don't want to do this or do this to make sure we have this, but they'll sit there and complain about it all the time. Or, well, we really don't like this senator, but they don't vote against them or vote for them, or representative or congressman or whatever, depending on the terminology that a person knows. Some people just call them people in power. So, like, is this something that can be worked on at home in our communities to increase the awareness of what's going on that is within our ability to look into or research, but most people don't take the time to do so? What do you think, Leonard? Donald. Blah, blah, blah.
Well, I don't, and I have a tendency to say this all the time. I don't do no research. I observe. I'm a watcher. I pay attention to certain things, um, and I watch people. I watch their actions, and I'm learning social activity when it comes to this people in general in this country. We live in a how can I say this? Free. Let's call it a free country. Let's call it a free country where you can basically have your own, make your own choices. So when you do that, um, uh, people have a tendency to develop their own truth, and that's another thing because based on where you get your information, truth may be a downright lie. Take for instance, people's truth is on CNN. Others are on Fox. Well, both of them are lying to a certain extent for ratings, especially if one's uh, platform comes from a Republican mindset versus a Democratic mindset. Does that make any sense? Because you can take for instance this. Take for instance this, and I'm gonna shut up and let somebody else. Let somebody else say something. Take for instance, you have a Republican nurse or doctor. Then you have a Democratic Republican or nurse or doctor that listens to Fox or CNN, and they'll say the vaccine, the virus, it's all government control. They putting something in the thing. So um, these are professional people, and they may be. You talk to. I talked to one nurse and she says, "Don't you take that virus." Talk to another one says, "That's a lifesaver." What's true?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that you should do individually, we should do individually, is sit down, sit down with your family, have a discussion, sound, wise discussion, and do what's best for you. Because this world is going crazy. Hell in a handbook.
Interesting perspective. I believe we also got Leonard on the phone.
Good afternoon, almost.
No, almost, man. Um, Still morning over here in Texas. Um, the topic of today is awareness. Speaking in a general sense, like the levels of awareness that are like across the board. For people that are activists, we're a lot more aware of what's going on behind these closed doors that some people, are only looking at what's on the news. So, like, what's your viewpoint on this?
Well, first of all, it's not that the door is closed. And if you want to consider the door to be closed, it's still a screen door. You can look right through it.
Just got to know where to
No
look,
longer
huh?
an issue of awareness. It's whether people have the desire to know or not. We are constantly fighting for transparency on a lot of different issues. And that's one of the components of many campaigns of people seeking political office is transparency. Now, what is happening is people's true intentions and priorities are on this side. Those people who don't know what's going on in politics, they don't know because they don't want to know. Not because someone's hiding anything from them. Everything is not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. And that's what people have to realize. No one else is out there looking out for your best interest.
Well, I think there are some. They're just few and far in between.
Yeah. And there's I was just talking about this with someone because, we've had friends that have won different congressional seats and things like that we've helped and participated and watched them, just grow up in the movement and things like that. And what we hope is that when you do get these seats, that you are who you always have been. You won't get change if you don't let change leadership. And
Yeah.
that's the issue. You
Well,
have
I
to
mean,
let people who are interested in change.
does that require people to have a certain awareness of what they are capable of doing?
And awareness is too simple. It's graduated to genuine concern. Some people are just not concerned for whatever reason. Some of them they don't believe in the stakeholder principle. You have some people that don't even vote. It's because they're not concerned. They believe that they can make it their way. And that's how they live. I mean, I can't fault them for that. But failure to understand what's going on and failure to read and failure to get involved is your fault. Not everybody else's fault.
Yeah, I can get with that. Like, I mean, me and Raheen, the one that, you know, runs DKM Media, you know, he was asking me about turning on my camera or not. And me and you've had this topic before, or talked about it. You know, a lot of times, because it's very rare that I turn on my camera because, you know, I've got 2 kids running around the house and everything else, you know. But one of the things I also realized is if a person hears my voice, they have one perspective. And then if they see what I actually look like, they have a different perspective or a different point of view. You know, and it's something that, you know, I've been paying attention to, you know, with my own awareness. You know, and a lot of times I choose not to have my camera on because of, you know, the different perspectives. Aside from the stuff going on in my own house, you know. And some people, you know, even when I explain it to them, like one of the biggest reasons I don't have my camera on, you know, is not trying to hide anything, but it's, you know, I'm still teaching my son to be respectful when it comes to a camera. You know, not to just automatically just try to show their face or anything like that. And to me, all of this kind of interlaces with each other. You know, people have these perspectives or viewpoints, and sometimes try to, you know, force people to think or see in a certain way. And, you know, a decision needs to be made within a person's self, you know, individual of, you know, do I stand my ground or do I just go along with it? And to me, it seems like most people, or there's more people that will choose to go along with it, even if they are aware that going along with it is going to cause more issues than just saying no. What do you say on that, Donald?
Well, um, you have to make your own choices for you. Um, um, I can't, I can't tell you another. Look, what I don't do is I don't tell another person what they should do. I just do me, and I'm getting. Sometimes I have a problem with doing me good, but I can only do me. You know the old saying, Raheem know the old saying that I have. I mind my business. I leave yours alone. That's 6 months for one, the other 6 months for the other. That's a full lifetime. So, I mean, um, I have some opinions, but you know, opinions are like, especially in this society. I go back and say this again over and over again. In this society, opinion is just like a butthole. Everybody got one.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody got one. And this is the way we operate. This is the way we operate with everything that we do. Whatever you want to talk about. What is the topic? Let me just throw that out here. What your topic is being aware.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
um, some people have a closed mind. You can't teach them nothing. You can't show them. You can't educate them on nothing. Some people are selfish. It's all about them. Me, my, and I mentality. And for the most part, in this country, that's the way we operate. So why would I force my opinions, which that's all it is? Even if I strongly have a belief, why should I force that on anybody? Take, for instance, our spirituality. I may call it Christianity. Somebody gonna say, "Oh no, let's not talk about that," because they're not Christian. I have to respect that. That's all I can do.
Mm-hmm.
Tell somebody you got to be you. The only way you gonna make it is you gonna have to do. You got your own choice. I'm just telling you. I can only tell you what I believe. As strong as I believe it, I can only put it out there. It's kind of like this, and I'll shut up.
All right.
A the Bible or a Quran, which I got both of them. I pull out my bag, I got both of them. It's my choice to be either one I want. And I can't press neither one of them on anybody. But I can put it in your hand and I say, here you go. Make your choices. You can read it from one end to the other, and still we will never agree. Ain't that something?
Yeah. Sometimes that's just being respectful to one another. Sometimes you just got to admit that we're just not going to agree, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, don't forget, anyone that's listening, if you want to call in and share your opinion, the phone number is 508-924-3521. Leonard, you know, what
Yes, sir.
what you thinking right now?
It's I think we've talked about before, mutual respect. And it kind of seems that's why I had this thing went to going wrong. And if we could gain the mutual respect back, this place would be a lot better. But we have to make sure that we understand that if it's a fight we engaged in, we have to know what side we on and who our allies are. Awareness is not the answer. For whatever reason you weren't aware was your problem. Now that you are aware, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
What are you going to do?
that's kind of where, like,
I know we were talking about something at one point. I think on another show I was on. And they spent so much time complaining about time to talk, and then it was time to talk. They had nothing to say.
wow.
You know, you got some people focus and raise more hell on not being able to talk, and then when you give them the mic, they ain't got nothing to say.
Yeah, I've seen that a few
That's
times.
the nature of some people. They just want to fuss and they want to argue and they want to complain. They don't want to help resolve issues and propose solutions and prepare for the future. So awareness is just an initial reaction.
You know, that's and
You gonna do
you, I was just gonna say, like you hit on something, that I was gonna end up getting to was the awareness of self. Because I couldn't figure out a topic for today, so I asked my wife. I'm like, "What do you think the topic should be?" And she's like, "Green flags," instead of because most people talk about red flags. And I sat there and I went, awareness. And that's just what came to me. And like it's interesting that a lot of people you know aren't aware of certain procedures when it comes to a lot of different things, and even working on oneself, or paying attention to like certain things. There was a podcast I was listening to this morning, as well as being on DKM Media, The Morning Glow, and it was talking about the signs of narcissism. So when my wife said that, I thought it was kind of ironic, of the topic for today, because looking at the perspective of what within yourself are you aware of? You know, like, are you aware of the laws and what you're capable of doing? You know, are you living in trauma? Are you allowing someone else to control you? You know, and what signs to look for when it comes to things like that, and then work towards, you know, changing because you've become aware. Um, what do you think about that, Leonard?
Well, yeah, I think it's a good practice. However, I do differ a little bit when it comes to awareness. And I want to make sure it's always an active thing. You're becoming aware because you're looking, you're searching, or what have you. Awareness is just that. Wow, there's that thing. Now, what are you going to do about it? Yeah, you're aware. People been aware of many of the things that go on in society. But what have they done about it? You know, when you're given the opportunity to vote for a candidate that wants to help the majority and the masses of the people, do you support that person? I mean, you're aware, but do you support that person? If you know there are homeless people or hungry people down the street, do you go take them some food? Because you're aware that they're hungry. But what are you going to do about it? See, awareness is not always. Sometimes I think it's more of a positive. I believe it's more positive. Oh, I'm aware. I'm aware. Sometimes people will tell you they're aware as an excuse. As an excuse. Yeah, I'm aware. But that ain't enough. What are you going to do?
With the awareness.
You knew that veterans were homeless over in that parking lot. You saw them every day. You've been aware of it, but what have you done about it?
And you know, talking hitting on what you're hitting on right now, you know, one of the things that, you know, I've asked people that question sometimes, and most of the time I've gotten an answer that's pretty much along the same page of, well, how do I know if I help them that, you know, it's actually going to be worth it? Or, you know, well, if I help them, you know, I might be judged, you know, by society. And I'm just
That's helping.
gobsmacked at that. Do what?
Why would you want to be judged as a
Yeah,
person
it
who helps
just
people?
baffles my mind. Um, is there anyone else in the that's called in? Um, Donald, what's your take?
Look, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I'll say this. Here's the deal. We have some situations in, and I think we kind of hit on that in a previous show, and I think it was me that made the comment. Some things are just downright, and I didn't mean. We have a tendency to identify a word based on the way we think, and I said it's just stupid to me. Okay, and that got all bent out of shape. But here's when you see um the way that we're conducting ourselves in this society. Everybody got their own way they want to do things. Everybody has their own opinions. We touchy about everything. And then our young folks are looking at us and say, y'all just about the craziest people. Why would I want to listen to y'all? So they make their own choices and get information among their peers, which we are having people that ain't been here 18 years and they solid on what the way they want to operate. And we're just like, leave them children alone. Okay. It's like this. Which would you pay more attention to? If I saw you falling off a cliff and I said, hey, there's a hole, you're about to fall off the cliff. Or would I scream and yell, stop, man, stop, you're going to fall off the cliff. But the thing about it is, whether I yell or if I whisper, it don't make no difference to you. You just keep going because that's the direction you want to go. I don't know if that even makes any sense, but that's the way we are the way that we are heading. We're destroying our own self. The way the mindset of people in general. I mean, and then when we want in some advice, I'm stretching out longer than I want to stretch out, but when those that are in power or in leadership, even the social media or whoever, when they want to get an opinion, they go get somebody in the entertainment realm and they say, this is the spokesman for the group. Y'all listen to him. And I'm like, you don't speak for me. So just fall off the cliff if you want to. And let's see how that works out for you. I know. It's a riddle that I just put out there.
I got it.
I don't know what to say. You got it? Do you get what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay, good.
So, Leonard, what you thinking? What you think?
Pretty much along the lines of what Toussaint was talking about. And I'm a guy that's big on personal responsibility. I believe in people taking action. I know who you are by what you do. If you don't do nothing but run your mouth, then that's all you about. You're not gonna actually get in the fight, but you're gonna stand on the sidelines instigating. Some people are just like that. And there's different things going on where you throw up your hands and you just say, oh well, there's somebody. You just think that it's somebody else's job to figure it out. Or my vote don't matter. Or why should I go down to the meeting? As if you doing somebody a favor. It's to the point where a lot of people, you just shirking your civic responsibility as citizens of this country. How can you want democracy and then don't want to defend it? Or don't want to maintain it? You see what people used to do to people before. They used to only allow certain people to vote.
Yeah.
Come on, man. This ain't nobody hiding information from people. That's in general. This stuff is so basic. General. So, I like the fact that at least for people like you go research and find out. Like I say, you got a lot of new bad going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people have been knowing this truth and been living with this truth a long time. And have been fighting against the powers that be for a long time.
Yeah.
This is what made Martin King such a figure, is that he was a martyr for what he believed in. He was willing to sacrifice his life for such a thing as this.
And to me, because of that, it seems like a lot of people are afraid to fight the system anymore because, the perspective is, or awareness is, you know, they can be killed for standing against the system,
You know, you can be killed for standing on the street corner where I'm from. It ain't got nothing to do with no system.
right?
You can be killed for a lot of stuff. Might as well get killed for standing up for what's right. Dead is dead. Ain't no fear. If fear is keeping you from doing what's right, you better off in the grave.
Hmm. I'm sitting here trying to make sure I'm staying civil. You know,
If you have a problem, anyone has a problem with doing that which is right to do, you better off in the grave. Because what are you about?
yeah,
What are you about?
because
You hear about
yeah,
people killed and murdered, all types of things.
mm,
You don't know which side to take.
yeah. Like one of the
The street.
man, dude, one of the conversations me and you have, we talk about like, you share your experiences and what you've seen of what goes on and what people go through and things like that. And, I share the same and, also my family's, personal struggles and stuff. And it's so wild how much similarity it is, yet folks want to continue to be separated.
Yes,
And it's absolutely baffles my mind.
right. Because remember, that's why I was getting on you, because it's not an awareness issue.
Yeah.
People that are fully aware of what's going on. Awareness don't automatically make you want to do the right thing or make you want to do the best thing. So, my thing was, you know what? I wasn't aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
If you
And you said that to me multiple times.
That's why, it's good to have these conversations because I'm not a white person.
Yeah.
So I don't know what white families talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But I know what black families talk about. And what we're not doing is we're not sitting around hating people because of the color of their skin.
Exactly. Me and you get together, or even me and Donald.
Voting.
Say that again?
We're not sitting around trying to come up with a way to keep people from voting. We're not trying to come up with a way to disenfranchise certain sides of town. We're not sitting around thinking, how can we stop people from feeding the homeless?
Yep. I mean that's
Thing.
me and you talk about activism, what bills are, put out there. If I don't understand the bill, I'll send it to you and go, does this mean what I think it means? And if so, that's pretty messed up. Or you'll correct me and go, no, it doesn't mean that, it means this. And I'm going, oh, cool. Well, that's going to be a good thing if they pass it, And I would love to see more and more people doing things like that. I'm so tired of these separation issues. Like I think me and Donald touched on it once, and me and you have as well. A lot of people when they hear me on this talk show, if my camera's not on, a lot of times they don't remember that I'm white, and that always fascinated me.
I don't know if it's a memory thing. I don't think you completely make people wonder what color you are. As myself, sometimes, people may think of me one way simply because of the way I'm dressed.
Yeah.
And it just
Or they
think
have
I'm
some
crazy.
type of pre-notion because I wear a kufi.
Do what, Donald?
See, we're not sitting around. Some people aren't sitting around trying to come up with ways to hate other people.
Exactly. And we need more of them people to stand up and talk.
You know, it's like the issue with Congress, and we heard them discussing on the floor the other day, where there are some Republicans that will say, this is ridiculous. But will you fight against it, though? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's wrong, and but you won't fight against it.
Yeah, I love those because I've actually looked into some of those. That here they are fighting against it on the floor, but their signature is voting for yes.
Yeah. So, those people who show you who they are, we just have to call it what it is and, exposing them like we do from the activist level. That's what we do. We expose issues so that more people know about them and more people want to get involved to change situations. That's the
So,
whole of the marching and the protests, the petitions. That's what it's for.
so to me, that sounds like we use our awareness as a tool to motivate us to do things.
Yes, that's the point. While people trying to sit around and I ain't never heard nobody tell the truth about Black Lives Matter. That don't want to. They blame Black Lives Matter for what? For standing up for such an issue as Black lives should matter? That's why you're mad? Every lie you told about Black Lives Matter manifested itself on January the 6th, and you still are hindering the prosecution of these people. But yet, soon as someone protests for voter rights down on the Capitol steps holding up signs, now you want to arrest them. But the very people that broke in and desecrated the Capitol of the United States of America, you tripping over yourself now. It has something to do with the color of those people. Now, I hope y'all aware of that.
Donald, what's your take, man? Donald, you
Yes, man. I mean, I didn't get to the point that I sing the old song, it's your thing, do what you want to do, really, because I go back to what I said before. If you're going to jump off the cliff, just jump. I mean, I'm not going to try to persuade you.
Why leave a note for anything?
I mean, right, because here, there are some things that are very clear. I mean, it's wide open. It's a fool can figure it out. But then somebody say, oh, that's not so. You say, don't you dare say there is racism still exists. And the most dangerous terrorist organization has existed, I don't know even how long, and they have gotten away with terrible, violent, just annihilating people, and we celebrate them like they are the Salvation Army.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Klan and white supremacists and stuff like that. But don't you dare say Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, all lives matter, white lives matter. What do you mean Black Lives Matter? What do you mean?
Well, I've
We still prejudice. What do you mean? You're so offensive. You need to leave that in the past.
why is it still happening? You, man, one of the conversations we've had, not on the show, talking to y'all individually, talking about like it, not just like about Black Lives Matter or things like that, just for where I live, being autistic, and the fact that if I tell them, I'm probably not going to get a job. If I don't tell them, I might end up getting fired because I lied to them because of accommodations. And it's there's so many things out here that is promoted by hatred, or because you're different, you're bad, wrong, evil. That mentality is everywhere about all kinds of stuff. And it's I'm a part of a huge Facebook group of autistic individuals or parents of autistic children who talk about this every single day, and they have no idea how to fix it. um and a lot of times that's where my viewpoint comes from, is there's a lot of people talking about racial and all these other things, and I'm sitting here going, well, those are very, very big problems that need to be focused on. And I'm sitting here going, all right, after all this, finally gets worked out, can we focus on the mentally disabled or mentally different and start working on that? Because, to me, what the American people need to do, or at least this is my opinion, is pick something that most of us can, agree on, solve that problem, and then go on to the next. What do you
Well,
what do you think about that?
though, Badger. If
Huh?
if if it ain't broke, if it ain't, look, we have this way. Like, say for instance, I go to one is a policy agenda from the military, which was appropriate. Don't ask, don't tell. A very appropriate policy, written for a particular reason, to satisfy and protect everybody. In Black culture, we don't focus on what's wrong with us. We focus on what we need to do to survive. So if we're going to fill out, think about it, we're going to fill out an application. We're not disclosing all our business to you. That which you need to know, we inform you of. It's a difference between asking me, have I been convicted or have I ever sold drugs? That's the difference. You the fool for telling them you've been convicted if they don't ask you. That's how we've had to live. But we've fought for things to be even taken off applications because they have been used to disenfranchise people. We've seen people make bills for accommodating people with disabilities. I've worked with programs in corporations to help people with drinking problems, drug problems, whatever kind of problem that they have, get help and keep their employment. I mean, just all out wrong. But employee assistance programs is one way you do this in corporate America and in corporations, is employee assistance programs. Programs created to let people know that, one, we appreciate you so much that if you have problems and issues to talk about or you need help with, we're even going to provide a resource for you. But those are great companies.
Yeah. You got to get hired at those great companies.
Right. And so, like, even for instance, with financial aid, one of the issues we have now with financial aid is a particular question that has to do with being convicted of a drug offense. Why not any offense? Why not any of them? Because you knew that your plan all along was to disenfranchise certain individuals. This is why you had mandatory sentencing. And you sentence people more for selling crack than you did for cocaine. A lot of times people you calling cocaine, you gave them alternative programs so it wouldn't even be on their record.
There's so much, man. I just,
So
I
that's
hope,
why we're always fighting for folks like you, folks like anybody else that are being discriminated against.
and that's the thing, like a lot of people need to realize that a lot of these movements is because they're big problems. You know, there was a huge movement here in Texas, you know, talking about women's rights and, you know, better health care for women. And the congressman turned it down for the second year in a row.
And
You know,
those
and they're
people,
like,
make sure they show up an anti-campaign against that person.
yeah, that's the fun part, is getting people to realize that they need to be voting those people out that are against all that stuff. But here we go again. You know, if it's going to affect someone's pocketbook, they're not going to vote against. They're going to vote for the person that's going to let their pocketbook stay the same versus, you know, the person that's trying to come up with a plan, you know, that helps people in need. Because maybe you live your whole life and your family lives their whole life not needing something. But what about your neighbor? What about the kid down the street? You know, and
What about
go ahead,
it? What about it? It ain't me. It ain't got nothing to do with me. It's selfish.
It's like Tucson. How Tucson talked to us about his connection with immigration issues.
Go ahead, Donald.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you talk about the immigration, and some people say, "Oh, it ain't no big problem," and you know it firsthand. I got a grandchild, and that boy, I met him month month before last, I think it was during the Christmas holidays. I think it was. I met him for the first time. The boy, 8 years old, could not come because he's born in Mexico. That's my grandchild. You know why we didn't want him to cross the border? They put him in a cage. And they said, well, the people ain't really doing that. Oh, yes, they are.
Yeah, they are.
Some things that and see people say, oh, that's not happening. You talk about being aware, and it's known, but then there are people in the political realm that say that's not true.
And people believe them instead
So
of looking into it themselves.
exactly. So what I'm saying is, and then if it helps somebody else's pocket, they just be quiet. My daddy used to have this saying: "Greed will turn a man to rags." I couldn't figure that out for nothing in the world, but I look at it, and I look at how you say a person says, "Well, what about your neighbor?" He said, "Well, that ain't got nothing to do with me." If it turns somebody in the rag, just because you're greedy, you'll starve your own family out because you're benefiting.
You know, next week, I think our topic's going to be greed. That's going to be a fun one. You know, because to me, being rich for me is having enough for my family to live a comfortable life. Um, I guess I'm not after riches and millions of dollars, I guess. You know, we do only have 5 more minutes on the show. You know, any last words, Leonard?
I think it's important for people to understand, we give out a lot of information, especially I know you big on the research as well, but you can go to the website for the government, the United States government, and actually see what they're talking about on the floor and who's saying what and why they're saying what they're saying. Don't just sit around and watch the news, so to speak. The news is just sound bites of what's really going on out here. And then it's a lot of opinion and things like that that are tossed about. So hopefully people are forming their own opinion. And one, if you're going to say something, at least know what you're talking about. You may not know everything, but at least know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Donald?
But so, talk to you
Oh,
later.
oh, I'm sorry, Leonard. I thought you were done, man. Hello? Leonard?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought you were finished. If you weren't finished, I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
Oh no, I'm done.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so passionate about this. I've been sitting here like, you know, biting my tongue on a lot of things, trying to be civil. So you know how I am. Um, well, once again, thank you for being here, Leonard. Donald, any ending comments, man?
Yeah, don't be so simple. Don't be so simple. Sometimes you gotta be radical. We
Yeah,
don't.
are you sure you want to ask me to be radical? Like y'all gotten to know me, I'm pretty bad.
Listen, I say this. I say this because look. Here's what I do. I don't take Fox News word for anything. But you know what I do? I listen to them. I listen to people that I don't agree with. Still stand on where I stand. Information is knowledge is power. But if you just discredit everybody you walk in you get involved with, and you just don't want to hear them. You just don't want to hear the Muslim. You don't want to hear the Christian. You don't want to hear Fox. You don't want to hear CNN. You don't get the whole picture. So information is good, and sometimes you got to stick your neck out there.
Agreed.
Read it for what it's worth.
Well, once again, thank you, Donald, for being a part of the show again. Um, you know, with my closing statements, I hope anyone that like tunes in to the Badgers Lounge, picks up on any of the stuff that we're talking about and and weighs it, because every thought matters. Everything that crosses your path and every moment you're given, especially when it comes to awareness, be aware of it, weigh it, you know, weigh it within yourself. Is this good or is this bad? What can I do about it? And then do some research and figure out what you can do about it. It's learning to be an advocate not only for yourself but like an advocate for others is such a powerful way of life, in my opinion. So I hope everyone listening and everyone that joined the podcast today, once again, I say thank you for the QCOM LLC for um, backing the show for um, this month, and I also thank DKM Media for allowing me a platform to come speak about the things that I research and perspectives and things like that. Um, I hope everyone has a beautiful and blessed day and do their best to walk in light. We'll catch you next week. Have a blessed day.